Hey guys, welcome back. It is Sunday, June 4th. I do have to apologize right off the bat. You are probably going to see last week's video followed shortly by this week's video. Editing and filming have just been, well, they've been put on the back burner while we've been trying to get everything planted out in the garden. We have had a week of almost record-breaking temperatures, no rain, and the highs in the day have been high 20s, low 30s. It's just been absolutely beautiful, but we definitely could use a bit of rain. The consequence to that is every day during the last week, we've been, after work, been putting a couple hours in just trying to get all the plants out in the garden and get them rolling, as this planting season is clearly underway. And we did. The entire garden is all planted up, so now we can focus our attention more on maintenance and landscaping, weeding the paths, so just the odd jobs that need to get done during the summer. We do have a little bit of insect netting to put up, just the small jobs to clean everything up. So today there isn't going to be all that much work being done out in the garden. We'll just do a grand tour of everything that's going on in here, and take you through how all the plants are doing about a week after they've been put out. So let's get started. We are trying a few different things this year. I built this kind of a movable trellis. It's a little bit overdone, but it was just scrap construction lumber that I had lying around. So put together a trellis, using it for the cucumbers, planted them all along the side. We'll train them up this trellis. As you remember, last year we took down the archway. It just wasn't in a good spot, and it's always difficult putting up permanent structures. You always think that, oh, this is a good place for it, and then a couple years later plans change. So nice thing about this is we could just take it off this bed, put it in another bed next year, and rotate everything as it goes along. So we'll see how it works. We planted the cucumbers, pickling cucumbers and slicing cucumbers, both on separate sides. Maybe next year we'll try putting them in the center of the trellis. It's just always difficult to get in. So this year we just stuck everything on the outside, and we'll see how it works. And then on the back side of one of the tomato beds, again, just a temporary trellis. This is just the metal fence post that you can get at any hardware store, and then the metal, I think this is cattle fence. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, on the outside of the bed for the cherry tomatoes, we'll just be tying the cherry tomatoes up to this, and then in the center of the bed's just the traditional tomato plants and stakes that we'll tie everything up. So again, we'll see how this works. There's a lot of tomato plants in the bed. Sometimes it can be difficult to get in to the center plants and do maintenance on them, but we'll see how it goes. All right, and in our first 12 by 12 bed, cleared off all of the material on it and moved the steel frame that was on it. Planted 21 squash plants. Now it is a lot for this bed. The center squash plants are mashed potato squash, so they don't require any maintenance during the year. They grow into they grow into a large bush-sized plant, but you basically leave them there all year, so no reason for us to get in there and do anything with them. Along the edge, it's all spaghetti squash, mashed potato squash, and we'll train them around up trellises, temporary trellises, whatever we need to do to make them happy. Leaves are a little bit droopy. These plants have been here for just over a week now, and putting on lots of new growth already. They'll get rooted in. Their leaves will stop drooping after a while, but it is hot, and we're trying to keep up on keeping everything watered. And after 3 or 4 years of having these cherry plants in this bed, they are finally producing a lot of cherry blossoms. The first year they've actually produced, yeah, tons and tons of flowers. So we'll see what we get from these plants. They are very tart cherries. So the plan is to, if we do get a decent harvest, to dry them down and yeah, see how they turn out. And just like all our previous years with broccoli and cauliflower, weed guard on the ground, insect netting to cover and protect them, and we will do a bare minimum amount of work in this bed throughout the year, really just watering these plants. But half the bed is broccoli, the other half is cauliflower, and hopefully we will get a similar result to last year with our cauliflower plants. These plants have already put on 4 or 5 new leaves since putting them out, so should be a early and successful harvest. These plants are doing really well. Asparagus, same as every year, doing very well. We harvest about 5 or 6 asparagus stalks every day from this bed, and there are still tons coming up very, very early in the season. So if you can devote some room to asparagus in your garden, I definitely encourage it. And then over here, the temporary trellis for cucumbers. The cucumbers were having a bit of a hard time in the pots in the planting room. They started off strong, but towards the end really started to I don't know. I don't really know what the problem was, but they seem to be okay now that they're in the actual ground. These are I'm not sure what these are. Either the slicing cucumbers or pickling cucumbers. Cucamelons on the end. Yeah, looking pretty good. And then tomatoes. We have one bed here and then half a bed in another part of the garden. Ultra Girl, just regular beefsteak tomatoes, cherry tomatoes on the end. These plants they get a little bit leggy in the growing room, but did reasonably well. You can see we already have some tomato plants with flowers and tomatoes growing. So yeah, we should be harvesting a fair bit of tomatoes this year. Now, as a temporary measure, we did put some deer fencing up on the back edge of the garden. Again, this is a lot of landscaping work that we have to get done. But now that everything's planted in the ground, we'll create some more permanent fencing. We have issues with deer, groundhogs, any creature that finds what we're growing appetizing will come in and they'll basically take out the garden in one night. So we do have to be quite careful when it comes to the wildlife. We have to do everything we can to keep them out. To the pepper plants, these are the red knights. This side is the jalapeno plants. They're looking there like they had a rough time with the transplant, but they'll pull through. They do need some water. They're not big fans of these really high temperatures, plus 30 degrees Celsius. They don't have a good time with it. So, but they'll be all right. On the last bed here, Savoy and regular cabbage. Again, bug netting, weed guard, a must with any of these plants. And in this bed covered over, you can see our celery plants that we started from seed. We have spots for lettuce, kale and Swiss chard, kohlrabi, and then all the onion plants that were started from seed. They're all standing up and putting out tons of new leaves. Now, because of the close spacing, no weed guard on the bottom of this bed, so we are going to have to come through and weed everything as needed. Not one of my favorite jobs at all. Same here with the close spacing of the beets and the close spacing of the carrots. We are going to have to come through and weed this bed fairly regularly, but you can see the beets already starting to come up. Have to do a little bit of thinning, and yeah, should be a good crop of beets, good crop of carrots. Strawberry plants doing okay. There are some early signs of strawberries that are starting to show up. Do need to come through and weed. Clean out this bed, do some weeding here. Eggplants, again, another plant that was having a little bit of trouble when we first put them out from being inside the growing room. It takes a while for the eggplants to get used to direct sunlight, but they're starting to put out some new leaves, so they'll pull through. It takes a really long time to get fruit from those plants, so we'll see what we get. And our 4 melon plants that survived. Again, they start out fine in the growing room, and then they just start to die off. They really don't like being in pots. I think part of the reason is they don't like warm roots, but for whatever reason is they do not do well long-term in pots. And then another bed, these are strictly the Roma tomatoes. Go through and tie these up as necessary throughout the year. But again, these plants did very well in the growing room. Nice, strong plants, so should get a good crop of Romas. And then we have yellow peppers, a few more jalapeno peppers, some hot peppers, just inferno. I don't know what they're going to be, but just some hot peppers. In this last 4x12 bed, we have a little bit more room for lettuce, and we're going to try corn again. We'll see how it turns out, whether it's worth using this space for corn. It is really good. There's no doubt about it, but we'll see how it turns out. And in our last 12x12 bed, as always, a row of beans. They're starting to just starting to emerge from the ground. We have 2 rows of sugar snap peas. We planted them about a week apart, so that one's well on their way. These ones are just starting to poke through the surface. And then on the end, we have all of our zucchini. These 3 plants are 8-ball. They are round zucchini, so we'll see how those turn out. Already starting to produce fruit, which is nice. And then the 3 plants on the end are just standard zucchini. We're not going to, in previous years we've put canes to have them grow straight up. Problem is, we find that the plants get so heavy, they just end up falling over and then breaking the stem. So we're just gonna let them grow and see what happens. They're just gonna grow, follow the ground for a little bit, and yeah, that way there's no risk of breaking the stalks. And last but not least, Our blueberry plants survived another year without being nibbled on by the deer. The two on the end are already have flowers out, and the bees are well, the bees are liking it. And the three plants in the middle, a little bit behind schedule, but that's all right. They'll do what they do. All right, guys, that's it. That's where we stand this first weekend in June. Looking around, most of the plants, I would say, are a little bit ahead of last year. Some are, I think the peppers are maybe slightly behind. They again, they didn't do so well in the growing room this year, but everything else I think is either on par or ahead of last year. The zucchini are definitely ahead from last year, so it should be hopefully don't jinx anything, but we should have a pretty successful growing season. We'll see how much produce we can actually pull out of this garden. 1,000 pounds? We'll try and get there. Try and get there this year. All right, till next weekend. I'll see you later.